Hey, Steven, how are you doing?
Very good, my man. How are you?
All good, all good. Nice to hang out with you finally. Finally, we made it. It's been a while since we tried to do this, no?
It has. It's been a good it's been a good few months actually, hasn't it? So, yes, it's very good to be here finally.
My name's Maddie. I go by Crypto. I live in Colombia. Just to let you guys know why it's not a green screen in my background. It's actually real jungle.
It's
And
real
yeah,
green.
I try to make content in several languages right now. Normally in German with like Telegram and the KSP guys. Now in English too, and possibly in Spanish too, because I feel like South America doesn't have nearly any coverage, and it deserves it.
Man, you can hear all the birds and everything happening in the background. That's so beautiful. It's like real green. Don't need a green screen.
No, I got quite some green around me, plenty.
It's beautiful.
Stephen, I thought I'd give you a couple of questions because just our audience, I already have been talking about you in Telegram a little, but I feel like I would like them to get to know you as a person. So first of all, I thought like since we got also quite some people just coming into the whole space, how did you come into the whole crypto space? When did you onboard, and what did you onboard?
Yeah, sure. So basically, I got into the top of the bull run in the 2017, 2018 bull run. Basically, I would say I got caught up in the XRP hype cycle. So that's what got me, like, it got cryptocurrency into my world. And then I started to learn about it. And obviously, I bought the top. So I bought a little bit of Ethereum and Bitcoin and XRP at the very top. But I really tried to learn a lot about it and understood that this can be an opportunity for a new financial system, because it's something that I was very passionate about growing up in a place like Australia. It's a very amazing country, but I look around the world and there's so much injustice, so much inequality. And I thought the problem with the world is it comes down to the monetary system and the way capitalism is. So then when I saw this new quote unquote monetary system, it really excited me. So from there, I just accumulated Ethereum all through that bear market. Worked really hard. Found out about HEX. Got introduced to HEX. Basically, through the last bull run, I was buying all sorts of things, but I had a predominant focus on HEX. And then obviously from there, I sacrificed a huge portion for Pulse Chain and PulseX. And ever since then, I've just been extremely passionate about the potentials of cryptocurrency and what it means for the world, what it can actually do for third world countries. That's what I'm really all about.
Well, that's great. Actually, that's really what I'm all about here because I got like a personal emotional interest in people here, knowing that you don't have the same income possibilities like in Western countries and a higher inflation, which means second and third world countries don't really have a lot of, if you're not like from the rich class, you don't really have a lot of possibilities. And I feel like onboarding people into stuff that's actually worth it and not shilling shit is a thing that should be done by people like you that I really appreciate for being honest. Not like for being like, hey, this is the new shiny thing every day and let's buy this. Let's ape into anything, but more the idea of like, let's educate yourself and take your own decisions. And KSP is all about that. We're all about the idea of self-education, emancipation of the single person and working together as a team because nobody doesn't know everything, you know. So like I'm happy to have some people around me that are very knowledgeable. I do my own research and I feel like, yeah, that's how we try to go at it.
Exactly, man. I think that's one of the things that I've really loved from day one on Pulse Chain is there is this atmosphere of working together. Yes, there's a lot of communities and tribalism and us versus them, but there really is overall an atmosphere of how can we actually make the world a better place? And that's what I'm really interested in first and foremost. And that's where just one day I decided to start a YouTube channel based on a Rags to Riches stream. He was talking about like, you guys can be the ones to make an influence. You can just start a channel and do anything. And so I thought, you know what, I am going to make a channel and I'll just give it a go. And basically the mentality that I've had from day one is that I'm just learning. I don't know anything, don't follow what I'm doing, but I'm looking for things where we can all win. That's what I'm looking for. And that's the things that I want to present to anyone that listens to my content, because I want everybody to win. I don't want, like you said, I don't want, hey, I've got this coin and I got the early investment and then I'm going to start talking about it so you can buy it off me. I'm not interested in that, even in the slightest.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, everybody can make their own choice. I'm not trying to be like a moral high ground here. I'm just saying that's what I'm thinking and personally trying to do, because I'm not living out here in the jungle to rip off people online. I'm more trying to be in peace with myself. And yeah, so everybody should make their own decisions. If you try to sleep at night, I guess sometimes it's better to not always choose money over people, just from my own perspective. But anyway, coming to crypto again, obviously you've been in it for a while and you must have developed a way that you investigate tokens. What is the things you're looking at if you're looking at a new token? Like, for example, when you looked into Atropa.
Okay, so when I was looking at tokens in the last bull run, there was a certain category of things that I was looking for. So I had a big focus on decentralized finance because that's what I was interested in. I actually read a book. There was a book that was released by CoinGecko. It's a paid book now, but I've got it downloaded on my iPad. At the time, you could get it for free. So I was really interested in this concept. And so I had a focus on decentralized finance. But at the end of that bull run, I tried to develop a plan to get me focused on things where, because there's so many things to go for, right? There's like thousands and thousands of tokens and you don't know where to start. So I thought, okay, what are the things that I'm interested in? So decentralized finance, and I'm also very, very interested in artificial intelligence and the metaverse, because I do believe, whether we like it or not, that's going to be the future. And so basically I've focused on those two main categories. And of course, I kind of put Richard Hart ecosystem within the third category, because I think more than anything, there's a big focus on DeFi within that. So looking at that, looking at different kinds of layer ones, and basically when it came to the Atropa ecosystem, basically one of my friends was talking about it. Two of my friends were telling me all about it. And at the time I was really like focused on not wanting to sort of spread out my focus, just maintain my focus. But I kept hearing about this Atropa. And so I started to like investigate it. And then once I started to investigate it, there was just something in me that was like, something is different here. Something is going on here that's outside of the ordinary way of doing cryptocurrency. And because of that, I started to go really, really deep into it. And that's when I went down the Atropa rabbit hole, you could say.
I imagine you had probably a pretty similar access than I had, which was 9iron Capital, Hodlonomics, the Verse kind of people that you heard about too? Or did you get it from like looking it up yourself on blockchain?
So a bit of both. So when it first started, basically it came from my friend Muddy. So shout out to Muddy. He might be watching this. So Muddy got me into it. And so we have this little fund between, there's like 5 of us friends, and I got them all into HEX and Pulse Chain, and then we created this little fund where we put our money in, like we all pooled money together. And he found this Atropa ecosystem, and he's like, oh, I've seen this PDI, I've seen Atropa, I've seen Teddy Bear. And he was like, I'm just going to put some of the money into it. What do you guys think? And we're just like, yeah, whatever. You know, you're kind of like the one who created this fund, and you go right ahead. And basically, that part of our little fund is like killing the rest of our fund. So he really got me into it. And then from there, I basically started to explore for myself. And that's when I started to stumble across the Verse. The Verse had some exceptional content, well, it still has exceptional content. But back in the day, some of his PDI videos were some of the best PDI videos. But I really did a lot of investigating myself, and that's when I stumbled across your guys like 9iron Capital, the different communities, Hodlonomics, all those guys who are really pushing Bear and PDI. And that's where like it really took my understanding to a whole nother level as well.
Agreed. Pretty similar course of action that I had. Actually, I also got first in for the Verse. If he's listening, props to you, dude. Props to you. I saw it when it was like as a ticker and deck screener, just randomly, Atropa and PDI. And I was like, what is this stuff? Like, why does it have a symbol? Why does PDI have a logo? on Pulsex. And I just considered it to be really weird. I was like, no other coins besides Richard Hart coins have a logo. That's weird. That is pretty weird. Like, it just made me wonder. And then I started to like Google to nothing. There was nothing. There was a white paper. There was nothing about Atropa. It was just complete electronic silence. And I was like, there must be something behind this. So I'm honest. This has been like for me like a detective kind of story where you feel like people add facts from different sides and it just creates a picture bit by step, and nobody has the whole picture yet. James has, Maria has the whole picture, and I don't even wonder if he has the whole picture because it's just algorithms that dynamically develop somehow too, meaning that some of it might be experimental, some of it might be already like a static plan. I'm not brilliant enough of a mathematician to understand it, to be honest.
Same. And I would say with James, Maria, I would guess that, because apparently I also heard that Atropa was being tested on the testnet. So it's like, yeah, so they would have done all this testing on the testnet, but when you go live, it's a different thing, right? You're with people, you're in the market now, it's different. So I'm sure it's like there's like a roadmap of where it could possibly go based on the testing, but maybe things are going to plan or not going to plan based on that. But obviously now the dynamics change. So and the other thing with the Atropa ecosystem that had me really interested was the liquidity providing, coming from that fascination with decentralized finance, and then really looking for this way that, hey, this idea that if we liquidity provide, there's a way maybe that we can all win. That's what got me interested in it. Really, really interested in it. So then I dived into Sonny's Pub. I started to get people like Almighty and people just start coming to me and telling me all these things, like, which really like sparked my mind up as well. So there was all these things that were happening in the background at the same time.
Agreed. I think liquidity providing is a very interesting strategy, but I also think like it's something that for real new people that's just starting, first to really actually get some educational material, look up different people to explain it well, because I'm not talking about now like I'm fudding liquidity providing. I think it's excellent. I think the whole liquidity providing system of Atropa is the base of Atropa. Liquidity bonding, providing in different layers. But in the same time, I also feel like, yeah, just educate yourself before you do pools without knowing anything, because I feel like some people are just aping into liquidity providing without knowing or farming. And that's all, because I personally think it's a really nice yield you can achieve with this, agreed, without dumping on other people. And yeah, another thing is obviously single-sided liquidity. If you try to do this to sell without sell, so to say, in the face of the market, different strategies. And I feel like Maria, for me, is like a strategy that we should now perhaps talk about a second, which, why do you believe that Maria or James is a benevolent actor or deaf, so to say? What are your arguments for that? What do you think?
So for me, a lot of it comes down to the way that I feel about people. So, for example, us having this conversation, I'm getting a vibe from you, and I feel very comfortable. There'll be other people where I can feel like a negative vibe, and it's like this person is not someone to be trusted. And so there was just something about the way that the Atropa ecosystem was presented and the way that I was learning about it that really, it's, I wouldn't say like 100% trust, because especially, honestly speaking, like when I started reading the chat log, it really put a lot of doubt in my mind. It's like, what the hell is this Maria talking about?
Agree too. Pretty freaky shit.
It was really, it was like, there's something not normal about this. But the more that I looked at it, the more that I understood, the more that I looked at the actions that they were actually taking, it really gave me a lot of confidence. But at the same time, there was also people that were really fudding Maria, because Maria was like hidden in the background. I know like Too Spooky, for example, was someone that was like, he was an early PDI and Atropa guy, but then he really got put off because he basically shared some information where they saw on the blockchain that Maria had sold something and then taken the money off the blockchain, and they didn't like that, and so that's where a lot of their FUD for Atropa came. So that also put some doubt in my mind as well. So I was like, oh, okay, but at the same time, I was seeing what was actually happening in Atropa. I saw these charts that were going like this. I saw this idea of liquidity providing and creating these forever floors. I saw the evidence happening in the chart, and then when KSB TV came out and Maria came out and did that interview with KSB TV, that just blew me away. That was my moment of like, nah, I'm 100% sold now, because I saw I felt his nature, I felt his character. I'm like, he's a good dude. I want to get behind what he's doing. So yeah, it was really that interview which really like blew me away.
Agreed. Thanks again for Mars, Sticker Guy, Koa, all the people that have been there from our team, or a team from people that have to do with KSB. And thank you guys, because yeah, the questions were really, well, deep. For a lot of people are interested in the whole system behind Atropa, and not just like buying a meme coin or like buying a new shiny thing again with PDI or something, but like are trying to understand what's behind this. And that's probably the rabbit hole that Steven and me definitely are very interested in, because it's not just like a system that's trying to pack some stable coins. It's way more than that. And that's something exactly leads me to the next question. One thing that made me doubt personally was the amount of tokens that came out, just this sheer amount of tokens that came out in a certain stage, and in all different type of languages, not even just regular languages, but also code languages and stuff. And I also study linguistics. So I was like, oh, this shit's interesting. Who's doing this? Why are they doing this? Why there's Chinese sign, Korean signs, Thai? Like why there's Hindi? Why there is so much different languages? And that's a question I actually wanted to ask you and talk to you about, because I feel like something that a lot of people just try to push away and just like, yeah, whatever. But it's more like, why would Maria do this? Why would James do this? Why would he create so many tokens?
So the way that I've come to understand that is, if the Atropa ecosystem is going to be like a backing for the P stables, then the objective there is for it to be 100% collateralized with decentralized assets. So nothing in the traditional financial system. Then if you look at an example like HEX, let's say if we had HEX backing, let's just say we had PDI and we only had HEX. PDI gets to $1 and we've got HEX, but then all of a sudden everybody dumps HEX, which is what happened in the last bear market. We had a 95 or 99.99% drop, right?
Nearly 100, yeah. We can't really go a lot further.
Exactly. So the collateral backing is at an extreme risk. But if there's like a web, an ecosystem of tokens with all these different avenues and all these different pathways, then there's like this it's like this cloud that can protect the downside pressure. So there's all these different tokens with all these different pathways that the liquidity can flow, and also it can actually create so much more. When we talk about the PDI having to have 150% collateral backing, if you look at the market cap of a lot of these tokens, they're like borrowing in a way like market cap value from all the other tokens that they're interconnected with, and so that's what gives it that's what can give it the real like billions and billions of dollars of collateral backing. So that was one reason that I thought why they had this web of tokens. Two was it just creates all these different opportunities, all these different pathways that will attract different kinds of people into the ecosystem for different kinds of reasons. Another one was that all these different kinds of communities can pop up. So you look at something like Teddy Bear, which has been like a phenomenon on Pulse Chain, which in my opinion, it will be the premier meme coin. I do believe there's a strong possibility that it can be the best meme coin in this particular bull run. If everything lines up, I think it can. The other reason, when I was looking into the chat log, at the time I thought that's strange, but now it's like it's actually quite a really clever idea. But these different tokens are, again, to attract different parts of the world. So quite often in the early days when I was reading the chat log, Maria was talking about like the United Arab Emirates, and basically these tokens in a way like can attract that market, or getting Teddy Bear 9, it could attract the Japanese market. So are these people within Pulse Chain, or the Korean market, are they within Pulse Chain? If they look at Pulse Chain by chance and then, hey, there's this token which has a Korean symbol, or there's this token which has a Japanese, would that attract that market into the ecosystem? So it's almost just like another way to attract more users into the ecosystem. That's the way I've seen it. So it has this objective of attracting users, creating communities, and then basically maximizing the potential to limit the downside in a bear market.
Well, it's really nice to just see it the same way that I do, because I mean, I was wondering why, and I was only marketing adaptation. Definitely, that's what's happening. That's why you do it in so many languages, because you're trying to open different markets with it and have different people, probably even laws. Like, might be that some of the Arabic ones might be Sharia proof, for example, for like big investors in the Muslim world to be agreeing on investing into it. There might be all different kind of law standards built into this. The whole like DeFi world, like a bank that's like a worldwide functioning DeFi net that has no OA, sounds to me like revolutionary. It's not like underestimating the word. So like saying, for me, like I'm not trying to shill Teddy now for people, but like it's for me like pretty logical that Teddy Bear has a huge potential, because it's not just a meme coin. What it is it's a meme coin involved in one of the most advanced cryptographic systems in the world, if not the most advanced system. So I'm not trying to shill it on people and be like, buy it at any stage and like go and buy the top of Teddy Bear or something. But I also think it's, other than just mention this for a second, there's no reason to hate the assets of other people you're not invested in. And I'm a person who definitely normally likes that other people are successful, even if I have nothing to do with it. What is the big deal about it? Stop hating and behaving like Maxis did before. I just don't get the whole negative vibe stuff. Like, if it's about in the end and you're like, hey, Dick with Butt performed better than Teddy Bear, I shake your hand and I'm happy about it. You know?
Me too.
That's how my whole opinion about this is. Like, there's no reason to like, yeah, throw dirt at each other like little children, in my opinion. But I mean, I also like to laugh about memes and gifs. I don't take it all serious, but like, yeah, for me, just chill and yeah, promote your own project and be happy about it.
It's a really interesting thing, because despite a lot of the hate that I get from the Tang Gang because of my because of the fact that my channel has so much Atropa stuff, I basically get categorized as like the Atropa guy. But their intentions are really good. Their heart is really good. So even Too Spooky has a really good heart. His intentions are really, he really wants to protect people. And I think he just genuinely believes, he's seen, he's basically they've made their mind up in the early days. They saw this thing that Maria did, move liquidity off, and they've made their mind up that he's not a good force. So they're bad and we're good. And so I have a soft spot for them for that very reason. But it's also there's a lot of toxicity in it, and I'm not really interested in it. But I can see also that the kind of combativeness creates this atmosphere of wanting to get better, wanting to be better, and that actually drives both ecosystems up in a positive way. So it's kind of like this contradiction in my mind where it's like I don't like the negativity, because also energetically speaking, throwing negativity out like that, energetically speaking, people don't actually realize. We think it's funny. Oh yeah, you're a piece of shit or whatever, and ha ha ha. Like, I hope your kids die. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah,
ha. Make
yeah. But obviously it's there.
like,
I feel it.
You're literally poisoning someone. Like, that's you. Like, we look at a crackhead on the street who's scratching his things and picking his face. We're like, wow, he's on meth. He's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
we're actually one body. When I hate you, I'm hating myself, but people can't actually see that. We're all one body and one mind. And that's where my heart is like, oh, this nature of the rot of the human mind really makes me sad. But you know, yeah, it is what it is, and I can't change it. I can't change it, so I just have to accept it.
At least it's not just crypto Twitter. I mean, Twitter generally is a platform where there are a lot of people bitching at each other for pretty much no reasons, like generally. And I'm not here to defend B-Roots or like tell him that every coin that he ever has chosen is perfect. But also, like, dude, like, what do you expect? This guy called out quite some really good plays. And of course, not all of his tokens that he's going to shill are going to be the number 1,000x. Like, what people are also like, he's not a scammer because he might have thrown the dart sometimes at something that is not performing for all people well. And I guess that I understand that as an argument to say, hey, he's shitting this shit to people after he's doing it to subscribers and blah, 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 and he's a bad guy and so on. I was learning TA from him quite a lot, to be honest, like for quite a while. That's just a YouTube follow. I'm not paying for anything. Like, I don't see like the whole, like, he's such a bad dude. Like, he doesn't have to do this shit. He got enough money. Like, he doesn't have to teach people about crypto. A lot of people don't understand it. Like, and at the same time, you can buy some weird channels where you pay like $1,000 or something per year for really not fresh alpha, but just some like random, let's say, S&P 500 stock exchange bullshit where you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, but whatever. I appreciate him as a chiller performer for the whole Atropa ecosystem. And I think he understands what he's talking about without going too much into detail because, yeah, he's not non-iron capital. So you don't have to expect of him that he does like explanation videos like you were doing it, I guess. But yeah, he brought some audience. We can't deny that for us, at least as a system. And that doesn't mean, again, Tangang guys, I have no problems with you guys. Be successful. Like, there is no one or the other. The idea is the ecosystem grows. If several ecosystems in the pulse chain ecosystem provide volume and adaptation. So we're not against each other. We're competing perhaps right now because we're like in the scarcity feeling of like, nobody's coming and we're just dividing the money. It's already there. Oh my God, red candles, let's cry. You know, I onboarded 2 years ago when HEX was 13 cents, and I was probably not the luckiest moment of buying HEX, you know, in that sense. Like, if I just would have done nothing, I would be at a pretty bad portfolio right now, even with the fork, you know, like bad, really bad. And yeah, I am happy that I got into Teddy Bear and Atropa and P-Dye and this stuff in a moment where it made some X for myself, for the whole portfolio. So I'm not like hating on anybody else who's have done that, you know, and I'm not even sold shit. I'm just for the long term. I'm not dumping onto anybody.
100%, man. And just on people like Moon King, I have nothing but respect for Moon King. You don't get into that position. You don't become, people don't become successful just by chance. There's a reason for it. They've done something right. There's something in their mind that leads them to success. So I have nothing but respect for him. So I really love all of his content. But yeah, man, like even like looking at some of these some of these comments here. So Coexistence Stephen was so funny on Copy's stream. So there you go. That was an example. Like, yeah, that's an example. And it was so funny. At the time though, it definitely stung. It's like, I don't even know this dude, but he wants me to be this guy where like, oh, KDP says something and just get in there and like, oh, KDP, you're a bitch. Like, P-Dye's the best. What are you talking about? Like, just slinging shit. That's what he likes. That's the kind of vibe that he likes. But for me, I don't like that. I want to treat people with respect the same way that I'd treat you if I was talking to your face. That's how I'm going to talk to you. I'd never talk to you like that to your face. So why would I do it online? I'll give you the same vibe online as I would in person. And so, but it was still so funny. Like, it hurt at the time, but then I just was laughing all day yesterday. Like, whenever I would think about it, it was so goddamn funny. And then Sommy clipping it as well, hearing him laugh, it was brilliant. It was a good moment for me. So thanks,
Viber. Yeah, also very welcome. I know you, and I think you're not not like a round earther, if I'm not wrong. I think you're going for the flat one, but yeah, Colombia is not too far in any case. Like, very welcome to see you whenever you're here. And yeah, man, appreciate you too, Vibra. Like, I also listened to your stuff quite a long time. And yeah, when there's only 10 or 15 people online, I was like, yeah, this is interesting stuff. And that's like, I feel like what a lot of people don't get. If you get the information when all the big influencers have it and everybody's talking about it, you're already pretty damn late in the whole game. The idea is do research with people that are also like I said, there's a couple of really, really good people on Pulse Chain. I feel like they're doing really good research. Also, props to Sunny, to all the whole people involved in this, because yeah, I mean, be honest. I mean, I'm really happy. I never expected this. I really just thought, yeah, it's going to be Pulse Chain, Pulse X. What's going to be built on it? No idea. You know, like what's going to happen on the chain? No idea. But yeah, stuff has happened. Pretty impressive stuff. So to continue.
Just one thing about Vibe with Adam. So even people like Adam, like he's amazing. His content is brilliant. It's so it doesn't get the attention that it deserves, in my opinion. He's got such good content, and he really knows about the utility. He's picking really good things, like long before anybody else is even thinking about these things. And these are the kinds of people that we have in our community. They're gifts to our community, but instead of getting like love and respect and oh, we've got this guy who's like fascinated by other ecosystems that could possibly be bringing people into the Pulse Chain ecosystem, there's still this like sort of tribalism thing. And I have like I have a soft spot for, I hope this doesn't sound wrong, but for communism. I have a soft spot for the ideology of communism. But communism societies, do you want to live in a place where all the buildings are the same, everybody's wearing the same clothes, and everybody's doing the same things? No, you don't. We love diversity. We want to live in a place where we have freedom, and that's where it's like Pulse Chain, having this ecosystem of different people doing different things, being interested in different things, gives this Pulse Chain city life. So the more diversity we have, the better. Look at the rainforest behind you. If all those trees were exactly the same, if it was just a straight line of the same trees, it wouldn't have the beauty that it has right now. When I'm looking at it, you've got little plants, big trees that are spiking, trees that have got flowers like this, trees that are like this, palm leaves. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. That's the forest. That's the same as the Pulse Chain city. The beauty is in the diversity, but people are so attached to their own things. It's like, and that's fine. You can't change people's minds, but diversity is the beauty. The coexistence is the beauty. So anyway, sorry, continue. I just wanted to give props to Adam.
Dude, I'm happy with what you're saying. I'm agreeing 100%, because that was part of the whole idea today to talk about. Is like, yeah, coexisting in the blockchain is exactly that. It's like, we don't have to win and you lose. It's more like, might be some people perform differently than others. But for at least, hopefully, if this is not like going to 0 Pulse Chain, then we should all be in a pretty good position, you know, like price-wise, in any asset nearly. Not all assets. There's a lot of scams and bullshit, obviously, but I'm talking about like Richard Hardcore coins or Tangang assets or Atropa assets. So yeah, just do your own choice. I'm not fighting anybody. I also personally not going to do now shows about it, but in the same time, because I'm really just into the stuff that I really know. I don't really want to judge stuff that I don't really know, you know, like just be like pretty judgmental is not really a good thing. So I'm more like, yeah, I don't have time now to be a Tang Gang member, and I'm probably just because I'm really into this Atropa head now, and that's how it's going to be.
I feel the same. And there's like hundreds of things in the Atropa ecosystem. It's hard enough as it is to keep up with it as it is. And there's all these new things popping off all the time. There's only so much you can spread your focus around. I don't know about you, but I can't spread my focus around every single thing on the chain. It's too hard.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, I mean, I also have a regular life, and then it's something I also want to keep. Like, I'm living out here in nature because it's like, yeah, it's nice to have the screen in front of my eyes and be like learning about stuff and being connected to people around the world. I appreciate all technology. I'm not a technology fucker, but I'm also like, I don't want to fucking just spend my whole life in front of a computer and waste away my time, in the sense of like, it's not coming back and the chart doesn't change because it don't look 5 minutes, you know? And it's like, I'm just saying it's going to focus your energy if you try to use crypto and not get lost into it too much, because it can be also over consuming, I feel like, with some people, and I've seen it with some friends, and I feel like, yeah, it's also good to be like diversified in life, not just in tokens. Like not have crypto as your own focus, only focus.
100%. Totally agree, man.
I had a question for you, and that's like a little insider question because, some people really got mad about it when that happened. After the Richard Hart tweet and the eHEX dump, Maria purchased quite a shit ton of eHEX, hex from Ethereum, rather to say, on Pulse Chain. What are your thoughts about it? Why might Maria have done this, and for what?
Sorry, I just got distracted by this comment here where someone said, looking forward to the day Stephen hugs his Bay Maria. Thanks, Martini Blanco. Sorry, what was the question about the eHEX? Sorry.
No worries. I just wanted to get your opinion on why do you think Maria bought the eHEX after, so to say, the Richard FUD, if you want to call it a FUD. I mean, you literally just talked about not using Ethereum for the gas, for the high gas prices. He was not saying sell eHEX, at least in my opinion. And then Maria bought a shit ton of hex from Ethereum on Pulse Chain, and obviously bonded it to the Atropa system. Why would you do that if you are kind of working in the same direction with Richard, at least what we are guessing?
Honestly, I'm not too sure. And I feel the same way about you in the sense that everybody perceived that tweet from Richard to be this FUD thing. I just saw it to be like, well, Richard's just presenting to you the facts. Ethereum gas fees suck balls. Like, do you really want to, like, it was, I also at that time was trying to end a stake, and the stake was worth like $150 and the gas was worth like $168. It's like, well, he's right. The Ethereum gas fees suck balls. So he didn't say sell all your eHEX and come to Pulse Chain. I didn't read it like that. And a lot of people have perceived like Richard's tweets in ways that I was like quite taken back by. Everybody perceived these things to be like very fuddy and negative, and I was like, I don't really see it that way. So that's the first thing that kind of sort of surprised me about the way that the market reacted. And when I saw Maria starting to buy it up, I'm not too sure. I just felt like, I think one of the things that people identified with Maria was that Maria's like an OG Hexican. So my guess was that Maria now with as a Hexican saw the opportunity, saw that if I have enough of the supply of Hex, I can also plug it into this Atropa ecosystem and bond it to the Atropa ecosystem, and it can get carried up with the rest of the ecosystem. And it protects his bags and it protects Hex. So that's how I kind of perceived it. And I loved that move. I loved it so much. I think Maria's like a top 5 holder now. And also, in terms of advertising the ecosystem to the community, the Hex maxis will obviously, their minds, the real maxis, their minds will be closed off to anything that's not Richard Hart. But if you have now Hex connected to the Atropa ecosystem and it starts performing because of the Atropa ecosystem, they're going to be forced to look at the Atropa ecosystem. They're going to be forced to look at, hey, why is this actually doing so well now? Like everybody was selling it, but now it's just very slowly going up and up and up. Why is that? And so I think that's kind of my thinking around it. So
I'm agreeing. I think it was a benevolent act. I don't think it was a bad thing. We had a pretty heavy discussion in Telegram about this whole stuff with like some hardcore RH maxis, and it was not only nice because there was a lot of like potential toxicity or hate going on about this Maria thing. It's like you're like, why would you buy it if he sort of say try to FUD it so it's over like Ethereum Classic and he's backstabbing the plan? And again, everybody has a different perspective. In my opinion, there's no reasons to take that as a reason to hate on Maria because, I mean, he did not sell a huge eHEX bag or start the whole thing. And yeah, I feel like that also did quite some frustration in the whole community, the whole eHEX dump, obviously. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I nearly didn't have any eHEX in that stage, because I was just like already like, I believe it's not going to outperform HEX right now for quite a while. And even with HEX, I'm honest with you, I feel like HEX is a really good narrative, has a really good API, is a brilliant system that's working for years without a flaw. But in the moment, do I think that HEX is going to outperform Atropa? Probably not in this bull run. So I'm also honest with you guys. I'm not like fudding HEX right now, but there is a heavy inflation that Inc, for example, doesn't have huge stakes that are coming out. So like if I'm trying to talk about RH products right now, I feel like HEX is the old brother. They did all the work for the whole thing, got the adoption going, and now obviously the younger brothers, they have an easier time. You know, they don't have to do the pioneer stuff. And obviously, if you're part of the pioneer team, of the early HEX team, you're emotionally invested into it. And I'm not judging that. I feel like we're all emotional beings. All people are like, hey, you have to be rational in crypto. Yes, but that means hardcore self-discipline, because reality is humans are not logical, rational beings. If not, we would live in a whole different planet. I think it's a pretty obvious statement. So in that sense, like, I just feel like it's good that they try to be as objective as possible. And that's why I'm also like agreeing to you. You don't have to be married to Atropa and be like, I'm 100% agreeing on everything that Maria says politically, personally. I'm identifying myself, esteem with him, because I feel like it's the only, no, don't take it too far. Be open-minded. There might be other inventions that are coming that I don't know now. So I'm like, an open mindset and trying to be as rational as possible, I feel like is a good thing. Not trying to be like something has to work because I own it. You know, like this idea.
Absolutely. I totally agree, man. And we just have to go with what the market is saying. And I think there was a discussion on HEX that I was part of yesterday. And let's just say HEX stays at this price forever. It's still, there is an awesome investment. If it never goes lower and it just stays at this price, then the yield itself makes it extremely valuable. We don't even need to wait for a 10,000x. We can just generate that yield in a bear market. And if it stays at 1 cent, you're still getting, 30, 40% on your investment. That's amazing. That's really, really good.
It's a great APY. There's nothing to doubt about it. And I feel like it's more about what are you trying to do here? Is it a long-term like investment that you're trying to do? Like, for example, like you said, if I have to choose between buying a hedge fund and buying HEX, there's no questions, no questions asked. And that's kind of the thing that HEX also was made for. It's not just like it's a gamble of how to sell bottom and tops. It's also about exactly that. Saving yourself from trading through staking, having some type of like, obviously, let's say, problems if you try to get it earlier because you're going to just lose a lot of tokens. So it is a really good mathematical system. I'm not trying to FUD HEX here right now if some people get it in the wrong throat. I'm just trying to say like, also like if you only earn HEX, you might be a little bit extreme. And that's all I'm saying. And talking about exactly that, I had another question that's connected to RH, and that's the Inc. No Nukes bonding.
Just Maddie, just before we get to that question, can I just answer Money Gang Crypto?
Yeah, for sure. Please. I'm a little bit unaware of the comments. Sorry about that one,
yeah,
guys.
That's all right. So Money Gang Crypto, first of all, mate, you're a world-class actor. Loved you in the lowest of stakes. So I love his content. He's really good. So Money Gang Crypto, what questions should I ask Marie in person next month? The question that I think the thing that I'd love to know is what if we want to see this ecosystem succeed, like every ecosystem kind of needs these like call holders and custodians. So what does Maria want from, like, how can we basically protect the health of the ecosystem? What kind of actions do we need to take? So if I'm not a whale, maybe one day if Atropa goes ballistic, and maybe I will be a whale considerable to others. But what I'd like to know is how can these early investors in the Atropa ecosystem, what kind of actions do we need to take to protect the health of the ecosystem and to help it grow? Does it come down to providing liquidity? Does it come down to ratio trading? Does it come down to just spreading the word about Atropa? Like, what can we do to help grow and protect the foundation of the Atropa ecosystem? That's what I'd love to know. And another interesting question as well, maybe, is like, what's his plan with eHEX? I don't know if that got asked in the KSB TV interview or not. I've listened to them all a few times, and I can't remember if that question was asked. That would be a cool question as well. What's his plans with eHEX? Like, where does he actually see that going? Does he think it's going to be successful in the future because of the liquidity bonding? I'd love to know that. And I think that's also going to capture the imagination of the Hexicans as well. So those two questions.
Good ones. Yeah, we have to make a catalog. I mean, the idea is like, happy that Money Gang Crypto is coming too. It's going to be quite some people that are, let's say, on the not on the death, but on the investigation team. Pretty dope. I'm happy that there's so many, response to, again, props to Mars for organizing this, like for getting this done. Because, I'm super excited to be there in Amsterdam. I'm flying to Europe relatively soon, and that's one of my biggest things in the summer in Europe is this, because I feel like, God, it's a unique opportunity to be there and to see a person in real life is a different thing than just on the screen, obviously.
I have a lot of FOMO about not being there, I'll be honest. And I'm going to put it out to the universe that I want to go. And I'm just going to see if things line up with my position where I am, that I basically run this business. If things can line up that I can somehow magically be there, I would actually love to be there and meet all of you guys as well. Like, there's so many cool dudes that are going that I'd love to meet. So it's going to be such a good event.
Agreed. I really would like to have you there too. It would be great that you would come. But I know you're also not that close by. I know Australia is not a 3-hour flight. I'm on a 12-hour flight from there. But that's short in comparison to what you have to do. I have a friend who's from Australia too, and he used to live in Colombia. And God, that's a fucking trip. It's like flying to Argentina and then to Japan and I don't know what, but it's definitely not an easy one. And the flights are expensive too, from what I know. That's something in Australia.
Exactly. So they don't call us the land down under for nothing. We're far away from everything.
Yeah, not close by for us neither in Germany. Not a very close by spot to visit. Exactly. I was stopped at the Inc. No Nukes. That's another thing that also is an interesting topic for us, and I thought I'd bring it up because it has not been brought up too much, is the Inc. No Nukes connection. Again, another connection between the RH coins and the Atropa system, but in this case in a sub-layer, in an underlayer of Atropa, which is the No Nuke system and all the tokens that are connected to No Nukes. When did you notice this happened, and what are your thoughts on that?
So when you talk about the connection between Inc. and No Nukes, what exactly do you mean by that?
Liquidity. Added liquidity.
In terms of the liquidity pool between No Nukes and Inc.?
Yep, exactly.
Okay, so I know that Inc. generates a ton of volume, and No Nuke also generates a ton of volume. So No Nukes basically presents one of the pathways into the Atropa ecosystem. So I look at I started thinking about this concept yesterday, actually. So Constantinople was basically a hub in the Middle Ages. It was like the center of the world. It had the center of trade, just the center of culture. It had all these pathways and avenues leading into it. And that's how I see the Atropa ecosystem. And No Nukes is one of those major avenues into the Atropa ecosystem that connects to all the 666 tokens. And so in terms of generating volume and liquidity providing, it's a beast. It's actually a beast. So it's also something that can be minted. So I think Maria mints it as well to basically create these connections between the 666 tokens. So they're basically just immense volume generators for the ecosystem. So if you do like liquidity providing, I definitely, secret tip, No Nukes.
That's why I mentioned it. I thought if you're on the same team, then they also think it's a pretty good play to be involved in, to check out, because it's not the most obvious one, but it's a it might be one of the best, just knowing how Ink might perform and No Nukes might perform. Just considering
Yeah.
that, it might be a absolutely no-brainer if you think about now impermanent whatever against Pulse, or against HEX, or against the core asset, or if you're not thinking in core assets, you're thinking USD or euros, whatever. But like the idea is like you trying to get a better yield that you can get it in other parts. I mean, that's the whole liquidity providing game. It's probably not always going to the pools where you make the worst APY or APR, but rather the ones who are not undervalued, but not as known. So I agree 100% on that one. I think it's a beast, and it's going to be very interesting what's happening in the next year and a half with No Nukes and its liquidity.
Just on liquidity providing as well, I would really encourage people to just try. So one of the things that a mindset that I definitely try to have is to just act fast. But I'm not going to sit here and say that I am a fast actor. I'm typically quite slow. But when it comes to providing liquidity, experimenting, and just trying lots of different things, especially if you have a mind like mine where you're a perfectionist, you want to wait for that ultimate liquidity pool, which is the one that's going to get me the best yield. And I'm going to spend 6 months researching, and then I'm going to finally create one liquidity pool. That's not the right approach. The right approach is just start. Just take $10, $20, pair two things together, but do it with like 10, 20, 30 different pools. Start recording the results and start seeing for yourself. And you'll see for yourself which ones are going to perform the best. That's probably been one of the most enjoyable experiences with liquidity providing, measuring and tracking, and then shifting my mindset to not impermanent loss, but impermanent gains. Once you start seeing, okay, I've got this pool where I started with 1,000 PDI and 1,000 teddy bear, but I've only got 500 teddy bear, but 2,000 PDI. Oh, people will think, well, I've lost my teddy bear, but no, it means you've got 1,500 extra PDI. So now if you take that 1,500 extra PDI and you sell it, like the USD value of that, you'll end up having more USD value or token value on either side with some of these pools, even if it looks like you've got less on one side. If you actually do the math and you bring them back to break even, one of them is going to be higher than the other, and that's like a winning pool. If you have a pool where both, like if you bring them, if there's more here and less here, but then you bring it back to the break-even point, but there's one that's still less, then that's like a losing pool. But if you find one where, yeah, you bring it back to the break-even point and you have more on one side, then that's like a winning pool. I hope that makes sense. It's very difficult to just kind of explain, but I do have a video on my stream which explains that process of impermanent gains. So that thinking.
I've watched it. I watched it in preparation. I hadn't watched it before. I was like, this sounds interesting, especially because we have been talking a lot about liquidity providing and farming in German. It's a little tricky too, because I mean, it depends a lot on what you're trying to do, and sometimes tax issues in some countries, farming is a different thing and all that shit. So yeah, generally speaking here, I think it's one of the most interesting plays anyway, if you made it. You know what I'm saying? If you made it in the sense of like you have a big portfolio to get passive income streams and not even having to sell your whole bag is probably, or have it in stable coins if you're in the bear market, so to say, and earn fees on that money is way more intelligent than just pull out 100 grand and blow it on some bullshit that you never need, you know, in my opinion, because I'm not trying to live like a luxurious, empty life. I'm trying to live a life where I'm happy. I can travel wherever I want to. I don't have to work. I still try to be active because I feel like exactly that. Sitting in front of the screen all day is not healthy. So, yeah, it's really just about you. And my mindset is not, I'm trying to be like a guy who throws money at people to be loved or something. I don't give a fuck about all that, to be honest. It's more about freedom. It's about being free of not having to work until you're 65. And I feel like that's really the thing that people should get. It's not about having a Lambo, right? You might want to buy yourself a Lambo. I don't give a. Do it. You know, everybody be happy about different things. But I feel like the intention for me is way more important, which is like a key to freedom, to time, to spend my life, my energy on positive things and not only think about money all day. Because then it's more like a addiction, the whole crypto thing, than a tool or a key.
I totally agree, man. The idea of you hit the nail on the head with liquidity providing, and that's why I'm so deep into learning about it for two reasons. One is, well, there's a few reasons. One is it basically exemplifies what decentralized finance is. So you become the system. Two, you become like a benevolent player in the system. So you don't become a market seller, you just become a liquidity provider. So you're removing that liquidity from like you're removing that sell pressure and just providing liquidity, and then you can just live off that yield. And the third one is, again, just like you hit the nail on the head, where if I had millions and millions of dollars, I would just be providing liquidity for the bulk of my portfolio. I don't want to sit in front of the computer all day. Like I'm doing it a lot in this bull market because I really want to like position myself to get to that position where my portfolio is forever going to have this solid foundation. From that solid foundation, I can build it to start achieving the things that I want to achieve in the real world. I don't want to be like at the moment I'm chasing all these opportunities to build that foundation. But once that foundation's built, I want to like really step away from watching charts all day. I want to step away from being on crypto Twitter all day to try and like promote the ideas that I'm trying to promote about mindset and meditation and obviously all the crypto ideas that I'm trying to promote as well. I want to step away from that and really focus my attention on helping people, which is my main objective in this world. If I'm spending all this time on crypto, it's time away from helping someone. So yes, I'm trying to help people in crypto as well. And yeah, the ultimate objective there is for me, it's really like the ultimate objective I see is liquidity providing like the bulk of my portfolio, and then just getting a small percentage and just trying to grow that in key opportunities like, okay, investing in this business or investing in this cryptocurrency, or this sounds like a really good one. I'd still do that because I do enjoy it, but not to the level that I'm doing it at now, nowhere near. Like I'm already doing it way more than I wanted to at this point in time. And especially with YouTube, this added pressure of like wanting to provide content for the audience and wanting to like provide value to people is like, I really have to feel like I'm studying so I can give them something and continue to like grow and expand and help them. So it's really in the future, I want to really take a step back from that, honestly.
I feel you. I'm trying to be as updated as possible. Again, props to all the other researchers and people out there. I'm in your channels. I'm listening to all of you guys. I'm not just like I'm not just thinking that I'm the greatest and I know everything. Not at all. It's good to have different inputs and to combine our brain powers into something bigger instead of just trying to get at each other. I have another question that I wanted to ask you before we go further into the morals and ethics. Is I heard you talk about something with Maria James saying that he does not know anything about MakerDAO. Are you sure about that one? Because honestly, I mean, I'm trying to play the psychologist here, but there's a couple of reasons why he would not admit right now that he's working with Richard, that he's knows everything that happened in the vaults before, because that would mean he worked with Richard. For anybody who's not let's say IQ 80 would understand if he knew about it before Richard did it, or some wallet of the dev team of Richard did it. No way to prove it was his own wallet. I'm just saying, like, might it not that he just played the stupid? If you look at his eyes and he's looking away and he's like all short about it, he's like, I don't know.
Sure.
And it's Maker. It's not that complex, for somebody who just built a fucking genius cryptographic system. So I'm trying to tell you, I think he was just playing dumb. He has to play dumb because he can't admit this with the SEC case going on, that it's not a good idea right now, actually, it is not a good idea right now to say Richard is involved in the building of this. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. So there's two things there. The first is I just kind of take it for his word. So I see where you're coming from, but I don't know too much about that. Honestly speaking, I don't know what he would know about the MakerDAO. I'm just taking for his word. Like everything else that he said about the ecosystem has proven to be true, and it's proven to be right, and it's proven to be in the best interest of the ecosystem. So if he says that he doesn't know, it's like, okay, fine, he doesn't know. The other thing is, if he is, do like, is it a good idea to keep pressing him if that's the case? If he really is, and
No.
we're talking about the SEC, like, should people keep pressing him and putting him on the spot like that? Like, I would say
No, because it just makes him really uncomfortable. And you could see it. He was just answering really short, briefly in that moment, and then just try to go to a different topic. Because yeah, if you're not an asshole and you're not like lying, you should not be asked the same question 100 times. And I don't even think on the Amsterdam conference, look, guys, everybody's excited about this conference. But if you think that he's going to go on stage and say, like, yeah, I'm Richard Hart's best friends in 15 years, and we have been developing this whole system forever, I'm just giving you the truth now. No, 99.5% not going to happen for really logical reasons. And I'm agreeing with you, Stephen. That's why I'm saying there's two theories. One is he really doesn't know. The other one, he has to play dumb. Now, if we try to pressure him 100 times with a question, do you know Richard? Is he involved? I've tried to be safe. You know, if you're not buying into Atropa or not, like, let's say, like, educate about Atropa because you're interested in the tech of Atropa, and just because might be Richard Hart is involved, it might be not a good idea to even do this. You know, like, in the sense of, like, I don't need Richard to be involved for my personal piece to know that is a really good system that Maria has built. For me, there's a lot of logical reasons to believe it, though. Just knowing that he did it with DAI, Maria did it with DAI, and DAI is whose asset? Makers. So that coincidence, Stephen, is a little too much of a coincidence. You know what I'm saying? In my opinion, that somebody moves 500 million DAI, P-DAI, so to say, and Maria already had built a system around it in the testnet. So it's not like he just came up with the idea, I use DAI. The idea is years old to use DAI. And just knowing that Richard also in the same time got into DAI heavily, got into the biggest holder of DAI on ETH, and then starts to work with it. And with SparkSwap showing up and all that is just, for me, like, yes, it sounds like conspiracy theorist, and I'm not. I believe in a round planet, I have to say. I do believe there are some people that are not really nice that might rule this world, yes, but I'm not have to name them or say, like, this is how it works. I'm more like, mind your own business, can't change it anyway. Sorry. It's more about, yeah. In that case, there's so much, like, facts that add up. And if there would be anything that somebody would have found by now that shows that they're contrary working, there's none. Even there is sometimes the activities on both chains are kind of like simultaneously happening at certain hours too. And looking at all that evidence, I'm pretty convinced. Saying I'm convinced, I don't know for sure. But yeah, to keep the issue again, let's leave it to them to tell us if it's this way and the moment when it's right and legally a good idea. Everything else to me is just guessing.
Right, exactly. I'm in agreement with you. So, just quickly, but before I elaborate on that, go to the private chat as well. There's Mars has been communicating with us in the background there, so there's a few things that he wants us to talk about there. But just while I elaborate on that, I totally agree. It's like, if he wants to say it, then he will. If it's true, then it will come out eventually in the future. But for me, at the moment, the interesting thing is, like, the speculation around it. I think that's the most exciting thing. I think that's more exciting than the truth, the speculation and the possibility. And that's what's exciting everybody more than whether it was true or not. So I think that's the kind of value of those kinds of questions more than anything. So, but I know... so Mars was asking us about LUSD, and I get this question a lot with LUSD as well. What do you think about LUSD? So my thing with LUSD, I've seen it a lot. I haven't seen it perform in the same way as the other P stables. So I've kind of like I've had like reservations about it in that sense. But I'm not saying that it's not going to peg. I think it would be amazing if it pegs. But I've looked at the supply. And I thought, oh, the supply is very big. But apparently now there's talk that the minting's been turned off. There's people have taken over the contract as well. So there's all these interesting things happening with LUSD. And I saw a comment today that there's awesome volume going through it as well. Like, I've seen people talk about how much money they're making through LUSD. So it's for me, it's like another interesting thing. But I don't really know much about it. So.
Stephen, could you do me a big favor? My internet connection is not that great, and if I do screen sharing, it might lag a lot. Do you mind opening the last deck screener link that Mars sent us to open the LUSD chart on deck screener? So we can have a look at it, because I also saw right before we did the call in Telegram, I got the message you're talking about with the mint function, with the problem fixes that the dev team has been doing. And obviously we all know that it's a forked stable. So yeah, there's some high speculation going on right now that this might be a really interesting game. But again, I'm not a FOMO buyer, so I normally would like to have bought this before it's going up. But yeah, it's interesting to check the chart out and see, because I feel like it had a massive dump, if I remember well, like a crazy massive dump, and it built a floor. Steven, is it my internet? Is it you? I think Steven is trying to come back. Here we go. And it doubles.
Sorry about that. I got rugged there. So, all right, let's have a look. So I will bring that up. So we were talking about LUSD.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Mars has given us that. So I'll present the screen now. Share screen. So this is LUSD 2. Here we go. And then I think, do I have to bring it up, or does Mars bring it up?
Here we go.
Here we go. Perfect. So, this is one of those. Oh my gosh! Look what it did at the start, though. What the hell?
Yeah. Okay. I was saying it has a it looked like a rug pull to me when I first saw the chart. I was like, oh my god, that's like red candles, like out of a nightmare, out of horror movie, dude. Like, look at that.
Wow! But even the fact that it had this happening in the open. So when was this? So this would have been. Oh, so it was
right after the launch. The launch? No.
Close to the launch.
After a month.
Let me just see if there's one that I can get that's the oldest one. So let's go here, PLS. So yeah, I mean, if people don't know these things, by the way, you can look at the age here on Deck Screener. So probably maybe this one here, 1 year, 4 days. So happy birthday to. Let's have a look at this. So this is on V1. Okay, so this is very different. Let's have a look.
Definitely.
But still the same. Interesting. So even out of the gates, it had some pretty amazing performance. What? So 7x. That's a 7x. Or 8x, or yeah, it depends where you measure it from. So 7 to 8x. And then obviously it dumped. Massive dump.
Heavy.
It's got some interesting things happening right here, doesn't it? So this is the market going, I believe something is actually happening with this ecosystem with the LUSD. And again, I'm not saying it is or it isn't. I just say for my own personal perspective, the fact that I haven't seen it move up in the same way as the P stables, it gives me like all right, I'm sort of steering clear of this. But at the same time, it's the imagination of the market that I'm the most interested in. People have the opportunity to buy so much more of this, like with 50 bucks or something like that. You can basically get like 1 million or 1 billion, but because of the value of it at the moment. So, you know, it's 6 zeros and 1793 at the moment. So it's extremely, extremely cheap. I had this massive spike. But again, look at this opportunity for a liquidity provider. Look at all this volume that's happening right here. So if you just had a liquidity pool between Pulse Chain and LUSD, these are the kinds of opportunities that I would be looking at as a liquidity provider. Amazing.
Yeah, Mars just was mentioning in the private chat too, to look at the tax numbers. It's like a 17K in transactions. Pretty insane.
Yeah, like, massive amounts of transactions.
Might be some botting, obviously, too. Arbitrage bots happening. Very probable. It must be
there
some
would
botting
be
if there's so many transactions, nobody's doing that by hand. Like, it's a little exaggerated.
Of course. So a lot of
you look at that. That's all arbitrage.
A lot of it is bots, but still, it's all arbitrage. But if you have a liquidity pool in there, you're going to get some of that. You're going to get a lot of that yield, right? And look at that volume, 3.5 thousand volume, but only 403 liquidity. That's nuts, man. That's insane. And a 4.5 million market cap. So this is an interesting lesson about the whole market cap thing, because there's only 411 liquidity in this pool, which means somebody can basically take out all $400 and it will just destroy this price. But it has 4.5 million market cap because there's so many tokens. There's like trillions of tokens in supply, but it still has all this volume. So look at all that volume, man. That's insane. So yeah, I mean, it's like, I'm not saying do it or don't do it, but these are the kinds of like little clues that you look for, where there's a lot of volume and there's a lot of the market being excited about it, where you can just get your money back basically just on providing liquidity.
Yeah, I feel you, because that's what I'm looking at. I'm not sure if it's going to peg to $1 too, but if it's just going to keep that volume up for a while, it's going to be a pretty good liquidity game. Agreed on that one.
Adam's saying that's not okay. Here you go. Okay, so this is V2 by the way. So this is a V1 pool, by the way. So also that's an important distinction. So yeah. V1, you don't actually get you're not getting the yield on that, by the way. So V2 is the one that you get the yield. I just showed the V1 because it showed the chart more accurately from day one, but V2 is the one you want to be looking for. And when you do create a liquidity pool, always create it on V2, because, well, that's what I do anyway. I always create it on V2. So now this tells a different story. Holy shit, 1.2 million volume.
Yeah, dude, that's with the liquidity. I mean, imagine what you're printing right now. They're having liquidity. That makes me want to jump into the liquidity pool without aping people here. But it's definitely pretty insane. And just thinking about, like, I mean, how easy is it to pump the price with $400 liquidity? I mean, yeah, that's pretty insane. Like, I mean, it's also a little dangerous because it got the honeypot vibe to it with the low liquidity. You know, where they're saying somebody sells $400, there's zero liquidity. But there's possibilities of changing that, being part of that liquidity pool. Now, if you would invest $40 right now, that wouldn't be but that wasn't V1. Obviously on V1, that makes completely sense. Now I understand why would anybody put liquidity on V1. Makes no sense. You don't make any money. Now it's 68K in liquidity. Different story, but still a lot.
Like Adam said as well, if you're really here for the community, you can do V1 pools. And I do agree with that. I actually have a mix of both, because you're not generating the yield, but you're still providing liquidity. You're still supporting the ecosystem, and it's still doing buy and burns. And it actually does it a lot better on it's more in the benefit of the whole ecosystem on V1, less in your own benefit. So in actuality, I do a little bit of both. So, but I do predominantly do V2. But even looking at this, right, people, like, it's a different mindset with liquidity providing. If I'm looking at this, we've had this massive pump, and let's just say it stays within, where's my little box? Let's just say it kind of stays within this range. You might look at this and go, oh, like a buyer would look at this and go, well, now's not the time to buy because it's just had this huge green candle. But a liquidity provider, I'd look at this and go, hell yeah, this is the perfect time to provide liquidity, because I want it to stay within this box. I want it to stay within this box as much as possible. And if I'm creating a liquidity pool up here, then you're going to get all the downside selling. You're going to get all the yield from the selling. Where's my little? I always get mixed up where all the little buttons are, but wherever the
all the tools, yeah.
You know, if this starts to come down and then it makes its way up, like, you're going to be getting all the yield as it's going all the way down, and then you're going to get the yield all the way up and then all the way down. So I actually prefer to provide liquidity, and that's one of the strategies that I have for the end of when I perceive to be the end of the bull market. I'm going to be, if I'm seeing charts like this, for example, this is like an end of a bull market looking chart. This is exactly where I want to be providing liquidity, right here, because you're going to get all that yield from everybody dumping on the market. You're going to just be cleaning up. But not only that, you've removed yourself for sell pressure. And this is where it's going to make an interesting thing for Pulse Chain, because obviously when we saw HEX did this, went ballistic, and then then the Pulse Chain, and then it's down 99%. Right. But if you provide liquidity, it can tell a different story. So let's just say all these people that sold, if a large percentage of them started providing liquidity, the downside pressure looks so different because it's removed that sell pressure. So there's all that the tokens that are not being sold on the market. So maybe you'd only go down to 60%. Maybe that's the bottom for HEX. That's the interesting thing about liquidity providing, where it's like you're winning by providing liquidity, and you're also protecting the whole ecosystem by removing sell pressure, but you're still able to make something out of it. And I tell you what, I wish I did this for HEX. I wish I knew about liquidity providing at that time. And I tell you, I'm definitely going to be deploying that as a strategy at the top of the bull market, 100%. So,
feel you. I'm agreeing on that one. I pretty much have like two strategies. One strategy, again, props to Mars, he mentioned it today again, is if our theories turn out to be true and P DAI pegs to $1 and P Maker is going to work like Maker and Aave and blah, 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 we could just also put it in the vault and get money off it, so to say. You know, like there's ways of not hurting the whole market and in the same time cash out a part of it, not having to cash out all of it, still have some liquidity providing games. And for me personally, I also believe that P DAI, E DAI, X DAI, I don't know how many DAIs, is going to be a very interesting cross-chain asset for fees, you know, like in the sense of like, I feel like it might be a farm too in the future. I said that with Axis, I believe in that. I still believe it. P stables might be farms in the future. But yeah, I mean, that's up to Richard. There is no DAO. That's up to Richard, and we shall see. But I guess like generally having like a passive good income and not selling your bag is like the best idea ever, because you're just creating margin yield without touching your real assets. If anything, diversify. I'm thinking about diversifying. I'm honest. I'm not against gold. I'm not against real estate. I'm not against different things, because again, who knows what can happen? A solar blast is a realistic thing that can happen. And if that happens badly, crypto has a huge issue too. I hope you all guys understand that one. Like there's things that we can't prepare for, and it's good to be diversified in life. Like again, like I'm not fighting crypto right now. I'm just saying like take some profits, then diversify if you can at a certain stage, because you never know what's going to happen. And I feel like a lot of people in HEX would like to have done that, and they didn't. And they rode down the whole hill from like being paper millionaires to not even have 100 grand on their account, so to say, in comparison to several millions. And I'm not saying dump on the community. I'm more like find intelligent ways to cash out, you know, like to have some cash that you might need for other investments, and in the same time, earn your fees. This is not going to stop soon. The blockchain and technology is here to stay.
That's one thing that I really resonated with Richard. He's basically, in one of his streams, he talked about being all in on crypto. That's the smartest financial decision you can make, because it's like the highest performing asset. And that's pretty much what I've done. But I must admit, I do want to diversify in the future as well. I do want to get to a point where after this bull market, I want to start creating businesses so I can generate yield in the bear market. So yes, I'll hopefully be able to provide liquidity in P stables and stable coins and just generate that yield, but also just creating different avenues of income where I listened to what was his name, the Hex Fire Whale, the Solid X guy, and these kind of guys, and Dane and Corey, the guys who are like connecting with the real estate, and they basically they go all in real estate through the bear market, and then they take that out and go all in on crypto through the crypto bull market. Those kind of strategies are genius, in my opinion. I love that idea of really like being able to capitalize and create money through the bear market and then pouring that money back into crypto at the bottom of crypto. So that's another strategy that I want to deploy at the end of this bull market with a bit of luck, if the portfolio looks like that. Just quickly with ads here, where to provide liquidity for PLUSD. So PulseX, if you want to do V2, PulseX is the way to do it. So the single-sided is with the V3, which is I think 9-inch, but I
9mm.
9mm, yep. And then PulseX is how you actually provide the liquidity. So again, I've got a few videos on. There'll be lots of people. Crypto Sloth has probably got the best videos on liquidity providing, but I've also got some on my channel. I know there's a few out there that do some really good videos on liquidity providing. I know Access Alive does some as well. Yeah. So just have a look at that, how to actually do that. So
But yeah,
just
V2,
also,
V2
sorry,
probably,
Maddie?
if he's not a super benevolent actor, he probably wants to use V2 on Pulse X and just might first look up how that works generally, like you said.
Yeah.
So
Fashion
not
Coder
that's-
is
Mhm.
Fashion Code is another channel that I would definitely recommend looking at when it comes to liquidity providing. Just quickly, Maddie, I've got about 5 minutes to go as well. So
All good, brother. I think we've been hitting it for a while now. I actually have a good question that's probably good for the end because it's going into your direction and it's about your mindset, about the Genesis mindset. I was wondering, what is the essence of that mindset? If you could explain that to our audience.
I love that. No one's ever asked me that. So Genesis mindset. So basically, I believe that we are all one. I believe in God. I don't align myself with any particular religion. I believe the Muslims call it Allah, the Christians call it God, the Buddhists call it Buddha, even Hinduism has all these different manifestations of that one existence. I believe it's that one existence. So my background here is father and mother, and I believe that the body and mind of the universe is what we all are, and they're the creators. So in a lot of religions, it's the father, he, and I believe that concept came from the patriarchal societies that the Bible was written in. And I'm not saying that the Bible's not true. I think the Bible is basically on point with truth, but because also the people who conveyed those messages of God still had that slight human self in there, that they were living in a patriarchal society where women were below men, they weren't able to see the mother. And we even talk about mother nature. So we sort of subconsciously refer to like mother, but we never actually refer to God as mother. So for me, the Genesis mindset is all about going back to that oneness. The Genesis is the beginning, and the oneness, the thing that creates everything, which is the infinite universe emptiness. And that's the mother and the father. So that's where the Genesis mindset comes from. And that's basically what I'm all about with my meditation. It's really about returning to that mind, because how can there possibly be any wars? How can there possibly be any hatred when you realize, not in your mind, not by reading a physics book and quantum mechanics and, oh yeah, we're all one, but then you go on, or, oh, Jesus is king, but then you talk to someone like they're a piece of shit online. How can you say that? How can you possibly say that you believe in God when you treat your brothers and sisters like shit online? You cannot. I'm sorry to say you cannot, because we have that self. How can it be that, oh, heaven is going to be this place where everybody's all one, but only if I'm Christian? So there's no Muslims there. So Muslims believe wholeheartedly in Allah, and they're all like loving each other. But, oh, if we go to heaven and then all of a sudden, oh, there's a Muslim here. Oh, you're a Muslim. Like, how's that going to be heaven? Heaven is now. We have to live in heaven now. And the way that we do that is to return to that mind and realize that we're all one mind. So that's what the Genesis mindset is all about. So it's really all about returning to that and really loving each other from that place, and really giving love and giving to others. If you give to others, heaven is a place where you give to others. And when you're giving to others, you're actually giving to yourself. The world that we live in now is self-centered. Me first, my family first. Fuck all of you. It's just all about me. That's not the right way. The true me is to give to others, because when you give to others, you're actually giving to yourself. But we can't see that from within our human mind. That's yeah. I could go on and on about this. It makes me crazy, but yeah, that's really
dude,
what the
please.
I mean, about.
Honestly, that's really. I'm happy you're saying these things. I mean, I'm not like talking to a lot of people online about these things, but I got moksha tattooed here, and for me, that's the state of exactly what you're talking about, which is a pure connection, limitless. You can feel it in different elevated mind states. And yeah, I believe the same thing that you. God is not a Nazi. Muslims don't go to hell. Hindus don't either. And if you believe in love, you think it should make absolutely no sense at all. So it's not about, again, being wrong or right. It's more about a lot of different perspectives on the same super complex being that nobody with our human brain capacity will understand on this planet, in my opinion. And if he's claiming to, he's probably a false prophet. Also, again, because, yeah, what you're saying is 100% true. The problem is if people hate themselves, they can't treat the world with love. That's the issue, I guess. And there's techniques in Buddhism, like you're teaching them with meditation, which are thousands of years old for exactly that reason. Learn how to love yourself and be all right with yourself, and it might be able that you treat the world like you want to. You know, not being a bad person because you have no necessity of acting harming to yourself. Again, I'm agreeing. If I harm somebody, I'm harming myself. If I talk shit about somebody, I mostly talk the shit about him or her. That is annoying me about myself the most. I'm just projecting my problems onto other people. So yeah, again, dude, happy to talk to you, Steven. It's been great. I could go on for hours. I know you're busy. Yeah, let's repeat this whenever you want to. I'm definitely down, and I appreciate it. You took your time as long as you did, and for your mindset and for all the work you have done for the community.
No problem at all, Matty. I absolutely loved it. It was really great to talk to you, really great to get to know you. Thanks for having me on. I definitely love to continue to do this. Definitely, especially after the meeting in Amsterdam, I think it'll be great to have another chat once you guys all go there and see how everything went. So with that, thanks for having me on. I better jump off now because my class starts in 3 minutes. So take care, everybody. Take care, Matty. Thank you, KSB TV, and I'll see you all next time.
Peace out.